Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 52, Tidying up the sect again. A fierce four-sided battle was currently going on at the Xianyuan sect main hall. Hall Master Miao was trying to convince Hall Master Shi to fight Hall Master Ruan, while Hall Master Shi was giving up and not helping to either side. Hall Master Ruan wanted to team up with Qiu Kongxiu, but Qiu Kongxiu was determined to take all three on at once. Finally, it developed into a scene where Hall Master Miao, Hall Master Shi and Hall Master Ruan all teamed up against Qiu Kongxiu, while Hall Master Miao and Hall Master Ruan took potshots at each other from time to time, while Hall Master Shi hid whenever he could. Suddenly, a streak of cold light shot into the room. An earth-shaking force caused the four to instantly stop and back off, trying to flee as quickly as possible. However, three streaks of fierce sword light slashed through the place where they were fighting. The tortoise shell that Hall Master Ruan hadn't had time to pick up was split into pieces in an instant. Hall Master Shi clutched his chest in terror. Good thing he was quick at hiding, because the sword light was vicious and was able to split one flesh open at a touch. The attacker hadn't held back in the least, as if they didn't care which of them were cut apart by the slash. Wondering who would be so vicious, Shi Kongzin peeked out and saw Deputy Sect Leader Yin, wearing a crimson robe, with a silver belt that outlined the slim shape of his waist. "Yin Hanjiang, do you want to die?" Hall Master Ruan yelled, looking heartbrokenly at his tortoise shell. "Do you also want to become the Devil Venerable? Come on. Whoever's stronger will." Yin Hanjiang waved a hand. Translucent qi in the shape of a drumstick smacked into Hall Master Ruan's chest plate. Hall Master Ruan's armor was said to have been made from the Suanwu's shell, and was a top-grade defensive item, stronger than many smaller sect swords. However, his chest plate shattered in an instant with a single strike from Yin Hanjiang. It felt like his chest had been hit by the weight of an entire mountain. He flew out of the room and might have gone much further if the sect's array wasn't blocking his way. When he crawled back up the mountain, covered with dust, he heard Yin Hanjiang's cold voice echoing across the main hall. "After Wenren no one can be given the title of Devil Venerable." "What do you mean?" Qiu Kongxiu said furiously. "Now that Wenren's dead, it's no issue if you want to become the Devil Venerable. You just gotta fight for it. But if you don't want it, what gives you the right to stop other people?" Shu Yanyan, who had rushed over when the array was broken. "I thought I'd be in time to save her," she said to Zhongli Qian. "Oh well. Might be better for her to get a beating." She grabbed for Zhongli Qian's hand, deciding to back off, but only reached empty air. When she turned, she saw that Zhongli Qian, who had been alongside her the whole way, had already backed 100 meters away with Su Huai. Shu Yanyan. This man with both looks and brains certainly never missed anything. She retreated plenty fast, but she was still hit by a flying Qiu Kongxiu. Her soft body caught Qiu Kongxiu's rack of bones. Shu Yanyan had brought out her spider lily, preventing her from being sent flying all the way to the mountain's array like Hall Master Ruan did. She managed to stand back up, tossing Qiu Kongxiu aside. After looking more closely, she saw that Qiu Kongxiu was really on her last legs, and the remaining flesh on her face was also gone. She said to Qiu Kongxiu, "Ah, you find trouble everywhere you can and never learn your lesson until you get hurt." She placed a slim foot on Qiu Kongxiu's face, her eyes curving into a smile. Spider lilies bloomed around Hall Master Shi and Hall Master Miao, displaying a clear threat. After she had held back the other two Hall Masters, Shu Yanyan got to one knee respectfully before Yin Hanjiang. This subordinate greets sect leader Yin. Seeing the states of Hall Master Ruan and Right Protector Qiu, and how Shu Yanyan threw in the towel immediately and had no intention of joining forces with them, Hall Master Shi and Hall Master Miao had no choice but to recognize Yin Hanjiang, even if they were unwilling. Without any resistance, they knelt obediently alongside Shu Yanyan. Yin Hanjiang landed on the ground. He glanced at Shu Yanyan and immediately closed his eyes. He hadn't had contact with anyone over this past year, yet he saw phantoms of Wenren He whether his eyes were open or closed. Now everyone he saw looked like Wenren He. Even Chu Yanyan bore his face. It was truly improper. Ah, Zhongli Qian sighed quietly. He told Suhui, take your martial elder back for healing. She can go next to your master. Suhui went over to pick up Chiu Kongxiu. At this point, she only had a skeleton left, and it was unknown how long it would take for her to recover. Xu Yanyan also had her subordinate Helian Chu take Hall Master Ruan away, and ordered people to clean up the main hall. Chiu Kongxiu and the rest had been fighting here for months, so it had been in a mess, but Xu Yanyan had been too lazy to fix it. After all, it would get broken in a few days anyway. After Yin Hanjiang had crushed them under his heel, the main hall could finally be at peace. Xu Yanyan finally sent her subordinates to sort it out. Yin Hanjiang saw that the main hall doors had been smashed. The hall, as well as Wenren He's room, had been covered with dust, and a beam had even fallen on Wenren He's bed. He waved a hand and sent Hall Master Miao flying, to join Hall Master Ruan and Chiu Kongxiu. Hall Master Shi, who rarely acted, shrank into himself and followed Yin Hanjiang while trembling. Yin Hanjiang raised his voice so that it reached every corner of the hall. You all can continue to fight in the main hall as usual, but from now on, however many stones you smash and however many beams you break, I'll break that many bones and meridians within your body. He waved a hand, having the army-crushing spike return to his grasp. Its vicious edges chilled everyone who saw it to their core. This was the weapon who had stripped all the flesh off Chiu Kongxiu in an instant with the proficiency of a master butcher. With Chiu Kongxiu's bloody body as an example, no one dared to revolt. Hall Master Yuan's former subordinates also stopped their infighting and obediently casting spells to clean and fix up the place. In less than 2 hours, the main hall was repaired. Ven sect leader Yin, should the head seat be changed? One of Hall Master Yuan's subordinates asked warily. No need, Yin Hanjiang said. Then should sect Master Wenren's furniture be changed? Will sect leader Yin be moving into his room? Of course Yin Hanjiang was going to refuse but hesitated. He pressed his lips together and said, you can leave it the way it was. Where I stay is none of your business. After cleaning up the main hall in accordance with Yin Hanjiang's orders, they all retreated, leaving only Zhongli Qian and Xu Yanyan. Having been there during Yin Hanjiang's battle with Hall Master Yuan, Xu Yanyan felt rather wary. She took a step back and didn't speak, leaving everything to Zhongli Qian. Yin Hanjiang paid no attention to the two. He stared at the chair that Wenren he usually sat on, unwilling to take it. He had always stood to the left of that chair. Zhongli Qian noticed he was standing still and spoke to remind Yin Hanjiang. Sect leader Yin, I've been staying at Xian Yuan sect for these past months because Lord Wenren had asked me a favor. There are some words that I need to pass on to you. Hearing Wenren he's name, Yin Hanjiang froze. Standing before the seat, he said coldly, what words? Sir Wenren said, this venerable one must go to the Sea of Blood and has about 30% chance of survival and have a breakthrough. For the moment, Yin Hanjiang need not accompany me. If this venerable one does not return for 1 year, you can erect a cenotaph and decide on your own whether to follow this venerable one or do something else. Those were his exact words, not one is missed. Zhongli Qian couldn't see Yin Hanjiang's expression, but he could sense his emotions. These past few months, he had also thought it was silly of him to remain at Xian Yuan sect. A year had passed, and these words were already meaningless. Even so, Zhongli Qian still had to fulfill his promise and wait for Yin Hanjiang's return to pass these words on to him. I can erect a cenotaph after 1 year. Yin Hanjiang clutched his chest, feeling like it was rotting inside. The pain was unbearable. He rested a hand on the armrest of the chair for a long while. Finally, he slowly sat down on the chair that symbolized the supreme authority in Xian Yuan sect. I won't erect one right now, Yin Hanjiang said through gritted teeth. I'll kill He Wenzhou and the other people who ambushed him that day, and offer their souls to my Venerable One. Hearing his bloodthirsty words, Zhongli Qian had to advise him, sect leader Yin, Lord Wenren could have entered the Sea of Blood at any time, but he wanted the righteous sects to think he was the blood demon, in order to unmask the true blood demon inside He Wenzhou before the righteous and demonic cultivators. Lord Wenren has said that once a blood cultivator begins consuming souls, they won't be able to stop. The blood demon will need 5 years to completely absorb the 17 cultivators' powers. After 5 years, he'll start killing again, so we'll be able to act then. I beg sect leader Yin to endure for now and not go against Lord Wenren's plan. Xu Yanyan watched as Yin Hanjiang's expression became darker and darker. Only when Zhongli Qian mentioned not failing Wenren did Yin Hanjiang manage to restrain himself. Xu Yanyan was worried. Yin Hanjiang could control his darker nature now because of Wenren's words, but after he completed his revenge, there might be nothing in the world that could restrain Yin Hanjiang. I understand. Yin Hanjiang took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. The Venerable One is compassionate and cares about mortal lives. He doesn't care who harms him, but I'm not like that. Compassionate? Xu Yanyan stared blankly. Who was Yin Hanjiang talking about again? Wenren he? Did he misunderstand Wenren he? While she was pondering, she saw Yin Hanjiang gripping the armrests tightly. I can wait 5 years, but I won't do nothing in that time. I remember all 9 experts there that day. They were from Shangqing, Tianjian, Juxing, Bilao, and Wuxiang, the 5 great sects, as well as the Gongzi, Liangqiu, and Nangguo clans. I've killed the Nangguo clan elder, so 8 remain. I'll gift them all to the blood demon elder. Xu Yanyan had guessed what Yin Hanjiang would do. With a gulp, she said, sect leader, at our current strength, Xianyuan sect can't take on so many sects and cultivation clans at once. Also, Shangqing sect is holed up behind its wards, which you failed to break last time. The Great Sect War was one thing, but to destroy a rooted sect was another. Almost every sect and clan was warded by immortal artifacts. If they really hid shamelessly, it would be very difficult to snatch an elder or disciple from within a sect. Yin Hanjiang said expressionlessly, the larger sects have many branches, so there are always bound to be some disciples traveling outside. We'll lie low for a few years, using soul puppeting, goo parasites, or curses to control them, then use them to lure in the experts of their sect and crush them one by one. Hearing his words, Zhongli Qian immediately said, sect leader Yin, I've passed on the message, and the rest of this is Xianyuan sect affairs which I shouldn't get involved with. I have already troubled Xianyuan sect for many months, so I think. Yin Hanjiang interrupted him. Sir Zhongli is clever and the Xianyuan sect currently lacks a hall master. Since you've already troubled us for a year, why don't you just stay? Protector Xu, prepare a residence for hall master Zhongli. Xu Yanyan's eyes brightened and she eagerly said, this subordinate understands. Zhongli Qian. End chapter. Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 53, Heart Demons Illusions. Zhongli Qian wanted to refuse. He was a Mahayana cultivator, so with his power and intellect, Yin Hanjiang wouldn't be able to stop him unless he crippled his cultivation. And since Yin Hanjiang wanted Zhongli Qian to work for him, he would have to treat him properly instead of a prisoner. He was about to raise his objections and ask Yin Hanjiang to reconsider, but the red-robed man said, Zhongli Qian, do you know what the first thing I wanted to do upon returning to the sect was? Zhongli Qian's heart stuttered. I have an idea. My plan was to first send Xianyuan sect members to gather up rouge cultivators and small sects unaffiliated with the great sects. We could accept those willing to make spirit vows and join the Xianyuan sect, while those unwilling would be interrogated for their secret techniques and killed, Yin Hanjiang said emotionlessly. Within 3 years, all cultivators unaffiliated with the great sects or cultivation clans would belong to us. At that point, we'd take on the weaker sects and make their disciples ours, then overcome the others one by one. Yin Hanjiang laughed scornfully at himself. I'm not, my lord. I don't care about the lives of the members of Xianyuan sect, or the lives of innocent bystanders. I'll do anything in order to achieve my goals. Zhongli Qian, your words have held me back, but since you got in the way of my plan, you'll have to make up for it. This, Zhongli Qian used spiritual cognition to sense Yin Hanjiang and found his words weren't empty. I must take my revenge. If you don't want me to bring chaos to the cultivation world, then you had better do your best to stop me. I won't lock you up. It's up to you whether or not you'll be a hall master. Yin Hanjiang stood up and turned his back to leave the main hall and Zhongli Qian to ponder his decision. Zhongli Qian smiled wryly. He knew Yin Hanjiang was telling him that once he left, Yin Hanjiang would follow through with his original plan. Yin Hanjiang hadn't been lying. He really didn't care about Xianyuan sect, the cultivation world, or even all the lives on the world. The only person worthy of his concern in this world was Wenren. In order to avenge Wenren, Yin Hanjiang could throw away everything else. Still want to leave? Xu Yanyan asked with a smile. Zhongli Qian sighed. Sect leader Yin and Sir Wenren both understand people well. Both have been open and upfront, never using underhanded plots so far, but this is harder to deal with than a scheme. Well, Yanyan better go prepare a residence for Hall Master Zhongli. It's not ideal to keep staying at Chiu Kongxiu's place, right? Xu Yanyan said. You don't seem concerned about sect leader Yin's current state, Zhongli Qian said. Aren't you afraid of the world being thrown into chaos? Hall Master Zhongli is already worrying about it, so why should I stress myself out, said Xu Yanyan. Even if the sky falls, there'll be smart people to hold it up. I don't desire much, so I'm happy just to have someone attractive near me to feast my eyes on. Hearing her melodious laughter, Zhongli Qian said, Left Protector Xu is wise. Resigned to his fate, he followed Left Protector Xu to accept his position as a Hall Master. No one was concerned that he'd be unable to keep Hall Master Yuan's former subordinates in line. With his capabilities, it wouldn't take him more than a month to sort out the main hall. Xu Yanyan dumped a huge pile of jade slips containing Xianyuan sect's history, roster, and regulations on Zhongli Qian. A single jade slip of the cultivation world could hold as much information as a cartload of books, and there were over 100 of them alone. After piling them all on Zhongli Qian's desk, her face flushed slightly and she said ruefully, You don't need to overdo it. Don't stress yourself out too much. The white hair lends you a distinctive air, but if you went bald, there's no way I could like you anymore. This Qian will do my best. While Xu Yanyan was messing with Zhongli Qian, Yin Hanjiang had come to Wenren's old room, which was now his. Wenren was a frugal person. Unlike Xu Yanyan, who filled her cultivation grounds with beds, his room only had a desk, 4 chairs, and a bed barely big enough to fit 2 adults. The remaining vast space was for his cultivation. The floor was covered with arrays, only needing spiritual stones to be placed in opening of the formation and it could be activated. Yin Hanjiang came to the bed. Wenren rarely laid down, so this bed was just here for him to meditate on. He stared for a while at the simple wooden bed, then took off his boots and laid down with his clothes still on, resting his head on the pillow that his Venerable One rarely used. His heart thumped louder than the burning sky drum. Yin Hanjiang counted his own heartbeats and closed his eyes in pain. When his Venerable One was still here, he often came to this room to listen to his Venerable One's teachings. Sometimes, Wenren would read silently, and as Yin Hanjiang waited, his mind would wander. Sometimes, he would stare at Wenren's handsome features and sometimes stare at the bed and daydream. What was he thinking about back then? Yin Hanjiang wondered quietly. He couldn't remember. You do remember, don't you? Said a familiar voice from beside the bed. It was his Venerable One. Yin Hanjiang didn't open his eyes as he knew it wasn't real. Sect leader Yin, at that time you were thinking of how wonderful it would be to secretly lie in this bed, weren't you? The voice became harsher as it groaned closer. Yin Hanjiang's eyes flew open. Wenren he was standing before him, only wearing a white inner robe. As he kept his eyes on Wenren he, the illusion came onto the bed with him, lying on the side next to Yin Hanjiang, saying in a low voice, "This venerable one is not opposed to sleeping alongside sect leader Yin." Yin Hanjiang sat upright, his gaze locked onto Wenren he, as if he was facing down his own unruly heart. He had once said to Zhongli Qian, "If there is no desire, there will be no suffering. If there is only love, there will never be resentment." He had thought these words were the truth, coming straight from his heart. But the reason love led to suffering was that because the fantasies were hard to suppress. How could he not desire? How could he never have improper thoughts? Even when he had not yet understood his heart, he had still thought that the wine from his Venerable One's cup was incomparably sweet and thus, he wanted to steal a sip from it. Now that he had realized things, his fantasies had run out of control. "Come here, sect leader Yin." The Wenren he on the bed beckoned him. "Or do you want this Venerable One to call you Hanjiang?" "Enough!" Yin Hanjiang roared. He lunged across the bed, wanting to grab that Wenren he, but he only grabbed empty air. There was nothing within his arms. His Venerable One wasn't there. Yin Hanjiang stared at the empty bed in a daze. There wasn't even a wrinkle at the place where Wenren he had been lying. After spacing out for a while, he slowly rubbed the place where the illusion had been lying, seeming to feel a slight warmth. But when he moved over and looked at the place where he had just laid down, it was empty. There seemed to be an insatiable beast in his heart, devouring all of his emotions. He didn't dare to get on the bed again but despondently sat at the desk instead. Another Wenren he appeared in the seat next to him. Wenren he picked up a wine cup and poured himself a wine. After drinking half the cup, he looked toward Yin Hanjiang. "Hanjiang, why are you looking at this Venerable One in that way? Do you want to drink? Here." He purposefully turned the cup, letting the place he had drank from turn toward Yin Hanjiang. Obediently, Yin Hanjiang dipped his head, drinking from Wenren he's hand, but as before, he sipped nothing but air. He wasn't devastated this time. He had known it was fake, yet he had indulged himself in order to tell himself that this was all an illusion and that he could not trust in it. He rubbed his face and took out the God of Destruction, Volume 2, from his kinkan pouch. He needed to find some way to occupy himself in his Venerable One's room. Yin Hanjiang had heard Wenren he said that the abusive love affair, and the God of Destruction were respectively written from Bailey Qingmiao and He Wenzao's point of view. They seemed to be the focal points of this world. Yin Hanjiang had personally witnessed the spiritual realm change depending on whether Bailey Qingmiao was conscious or not, so knew that this book was about fate itself. In order to defeat He Wenzao, he had to know his enemy. Even though the second volume told of the events in the immortal realm, he could at least find the weak points of He Wenzao's character. Yin Hanjiang had been injured before, so he didn't dare open this book which related his Venerable One's death. He was afraid that it might affect his mind and impede his recovery. Only now that he was back at Xianyuan sect and was inside his Venerable One's room, which was a place that put him at ease, did Yin Hanjiang dare to open the book. Doing his best to ignore the mention of Wenren He's death in the summary, Yin Hanjiang speed read through the book. In the book, He Wenzao and Bailey Qingmiao arrived in the immortal realm, initially keeping a low profile and gradually rose to prominence. Bailey Qingmiao had good aptitudes and looks, so there were always immortals foolish enough to flirt with her. The first part of the story relied entirely on Bailey Qingmiao to move the plot. Someone would harass Bailey Qingmiao and He Wenzao would act, then she would be harassed again, so He Wenzao would act again. He Wenzao had had several breakthroughs in his cultivation, seemingly just to save Bailey Qingmiao. After reading this, Yin Hanjiang was sure that women were He Wenzao's weakness. Afterwards, the Xiling Pavilion Master, Miss Gongzi, Zhongli Kuang, Jia Jiaping, and Sen Zhenqi ascended one after another. He Wenzao had also met several powerful female immortals and male immortals who were not happy with the Burning Sky Immortal until He Wenzao's grew strong enough to contend with the Burning Sky Immortal. In this part, Yin Hanjiang found He Wenzao seemed to have no reservations toward women. He would even treat women who used to be his enemies warmly, as long as they didn't already have a man. At the beginning, Bailey Qingmiao had gotten plenty of scenes, but as the number of female characters grew, she became less and less prominent. After fighting a few times with He Wenzao over his relations with other women, she stormed out and wound up kidnapped by the Burning Sky Immortal. The Burning Sky Immortal cast Bailey Qingmiao into the immortal realm's divine flames in order to refine her into an everlasting lamp. Seeing the words everlasting lamp, Yin Hanjiang's eyebrows rose. He felt that this Burning Sky Immortal was somehow familiar to him. Indeed, when he flipped the page, he read. The Burning Sky Immortal looked sadly at Bailey Qingmiao and said, "Since when he loved you, you shouldn't have betrayed his feelings. I'm going to refine you into an ever-burning lamp, to place into the sky above the sea of blood and illuminate it for eternity, so you can always be with him. Isn't that good?" With these words and his relation to the Burning Sky Drum, Yin Hanjiang was now certain that the Burning Sky Immortal in the second volume was pertaining to himself. But what was his future self saying? His Venerable One loved Bailey Qingmiao. He put down the book and sat at the desk in a daze, his eyes blank. Bailey Qingmiao had been recovering in Xianyuan sect for over a year at this point, spending most of that time unconscious. Her bonded weapon had been disintegrated by chaos energy. If a bond with a weapon was forcibly severed, the Danshan would be seriously damaged and it would be difficult to recover. This wasn't a problem to Qiu Kongxiu though. This just affected her flesh body. It would be so much better to just discard it and cultivate her soul as a ghost cultivator. She could give Bailey Qingmiao all her secret techniques, as well as open up the hungry ghost path for her and throw her in there to cultivate. That was a sacred ground for ghost cultivators. Qiu Kongxiu always acted according to her words and was highly efficient. It was fortunate that Zhongli Qian arrived in time and told Qiu Kongxiu that Bailey Qingmiao's gravest injury was not on her body but in her heart. Even if she cultivated as a soul, the injury to her soul wouldn't heal, and she had no possibility of surviving the hungry ghost path in such a state. Zhongli Qian wasn't doing so well at that moment either. He knew that Bailey Qingmiao's heart was broken. He himself was affected, feeling the urge to end his own life every day. In truth, if Zhongli Qian was not restraining her emotions, Bailey Qingmiao might have attempted suicide numerous times already. Eventually, Xu Yanyan had sought out Hall Master Miao for help in suppressing the heart-linking parasites. Hall Master Miao wasn't sure of Wenrenhe's death at the time, so he didn't dare remove the parasites and only gave some medicine to alleviate the effects. Thus, Zhongli Qian was temporarily freed, but Bailey Qingmiao's condition became worse. Zhongli Qian could only ask Hall Master Shi to sit with Bailey Qingmiao for a night. After one night, Bailey Qingmiao fell ill, drifting in and out of consciousness, so she didn't have the strength to take her own life even if she wanted to. Bailey Qingmiao had spent these past days half-conscious, not knowing where she was and unclear on how much time had passed. In her daze, she faintly felt that Suhui had set down a rack of white bones next to her, mumbling to himself as he wiped them. "Are you an idiot? Always looking for trouble? Is there anything in your brain besides fighting and eating?" The skeleton moved its jawbone, making a click-clack sound, as if it were speaking. Bailey Qingmiao couldn't understand it, but Suhui seemed to have no trouble doing so. He said casually, "Are you proud that you're a skeleton again? After all the effort I went through to get a body, do you know how happy I was? Yet you've managed to get yourself the body of a wandering immortal, and treat it like this." Click-clack, click-clack, clack. The skeleton's jawbone fell off. Suhuai's voice was suffused with worry. How long is it going to take for you to recover this time? Do consider from time to time that you're not a ghost cultivator anymore. You're a wandering immortal, with a body grown from the flesh mushroom. Each bit of flesh you lose lowers your power. Sect leader Yin has already diminished your power to the nascent soul stage. If this keeps up, you'll lose your position as a sect protector. Sighing, Suhuai helped the skeleton reattach its jaw. Left Protector Shu said that you first absorbed the flesh mushroom by soaking your bones in its broth, so its essence is in your bones. You'll recover with top-grade spiritual stones and attentive care. Sir Zhongli is currently setting up a spirit gathering array for you, so I'll take you there in a bit. Cultivate properly. Stop abusing the flesh on your body. He let out a long sigh. As a core formation cultivator, he was taking on responsibilities far above his station. After settling down Qiu Kongxiu, he went to feed Bailey Qing Miao medicine. He pried open his master's jaw with practiced motions, stuffing the pill in, then used his spiritual energy to move Bailey Qing Miao's throat and force her to swallow the medicine. After he finished, he picked up the skeleton and went to find Zhongli Jian. Bailey Qing Miao was somewhat aware at this moment, and guessed that the skeleton was Qiu Kongxiu. She wanted to ask Suhuai if her master was okay and how she had gotten so injured. Her lips had moved slightly, but she was unable to open her mouth. After Suhuai left, Bailey Qing Miao laid there, her body feeling heavy. She felt someone sit by her side. An ice-cold piece of metal touched her face a few times. She sensed a powerful murderous intent and her survival instincts made her open her eyes. The moment she did, she saw Yin Hanjiang sitting by her bed, holding a spike blade over her nose. There was a dark look in his eyes, as if he was deciding whether or not to stab her. End chapter. Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 54, Unstable Mind. After reading the book, Yin Hanjiang had been in a daze for a long time. He didn't remember what he was thinking back then. He suddenly remembered that his Venerable One had once said that he had a debt toward Bailey Qing Miao which he could only repay by helping her attain godhood. He also remembered how Zhongli Jian had told him that when he had faced danger to save Bailey Qing Miao, not because he didn't care about his own life but because he had a plan. Sitting at the desk, he cocked his head slightly, not quite certain whether these memories were real or just his own imagination. He turned toward the Wenren sitting at his left side and asked, "Does the Venerable One like Bailey Qing Miao?" "Don't you remember what this Venerable One has told you?" said that Wenren Yin Hanjiang turned his head to the Wenren sitting on his right. "What do you think, Venerable One?" "This Venerable has told you that these books record fate, and fate is difficult to change," said that Wenren With both Wenren repeating his Venerable One's words by his ears, Yin Hanjiang's thoughts became confused. He didn't know whose words were correct and he didn't even know if the two people next to him were real. He lifted his hands, wanting to cover his ears, but he wanted to be able to listen to his Venerable One's voice, so he was loath to seal his hearing. Yin Hanjiang shook his head a few times, feeling that something was wrong with him. He put away the book and sat cross-legged on the bed, reciting the clear mind mantra, trying to calm his heart and quiet his unruly thoughts. But then the two Wenren sitting next to Yin Hanjiang both pressed against his sides and asked, "Is sect leader Yin reciting the clear mind mantra because he no longer wants to see this Venerable One?" Yin Hanjiang felt his meridians were clogged and he couldn't even circulate his spiritual qi throughout his body. He forcibly tried to open his meridians but only spat out a mouthful of blood. There was also a piercing pain in his dantian. "False, all false," Yin Hanjiang brought out Wenren's robe. When he clutched it close to his chest, only then did he feel much better. Clutching the robes tightly, he closed his eyes. He was uncertain if he fell asleep or have lost consciousness. Vaguely, he seemed to have a dream, though it also seemed to not be a dream, and instead something that really happened. He dreamed that after the Great Sect War, his Venerable One had been saved by a woman of the righteous sects. His Venerable One favored that woman very much and at last, died saving her at the sea of blood. The moment before he fell into the sea of blood, his Venerable One had thrown that woman out wrapped in his own robe and threw her towards Yin Hanjiang along with a blood-red stone. His last words were, "Protect her for this Venerable One." The pain that seemed to split his heart woke Yin Hanjiang. He looked at his arms and saw only a robe but no woman. Odd, how did his Venerable One died again? Yin Hanjiang shook his head. He seemed to have trouble remembering. There were two series of events in his memories. In one, his Venerable One was good to him and treated him warmly. He retrieved the snow flame for him, forged a bonded weapon for him and gave him his robe. In the other, he quietly looked on as his Venerable One treated a woman kindly, too kind to make his heart ache, too kind that from time after time, he put on the ghost mask in the dead of night and carved out that woman's figure out of wood with his sword, after which he would gouge her face out with his fingernails, bit by bit, and slowly reduce the figurine to wood chips. Which was real? Yin Hanjiang dug through his kinkan pouch and found many wood figurines of Wenren which he had carved secretly. They all looked unsightly and he didn't dare show them to his Venerable One. Wood figurines. So, his Venerable One liking that girl was true, and his Venerable One treating him so well was just a fantasy created by his inner demons. Protector Yin, your body is cold. Drink some of this Venerable One's blood. A Wenren he stood before Yin Hanjiang, holding out his hand and offered Yin Hanjiang his blood. Yin Hanjiang ignored him. He extended two fingers and tried to dig deep into his own eyes. If he gouged out his eyes, then he would no longer see the illusions. The pain shocked him back to his senses, and he managed to regain some reason. Yin Hanjiang put away the robe and figurines. He pushed open the door and immediately ran into Suhui, who was carrying a skeleton and looking for Zhongli Qian. When the skeleton saw Yin Hanjiang, all of its joints started clattering. Who knew if it was scared or cursing out Yin Hanjiang? Stop moving. Suhui grabbed Qiu Kongxiu's bones, preventing her from speaking. If your bones were shattered and the essence of the flesh mushroom flowed out, you'd really be done for. Seeing Yin Hanjiang walk directly toward him, Suhui rushed to kneel down while holding the skeleton still. This one greets sect leader Yin. Who are you? The corners of Yin Hanjiang's eyes were bleeding as he stared at Suhui. Suhui said frantically, I'm Bailey King Miao's disciple and Zhongli Qian's student. At this point, I haven't yet entered the Xianyuan sect and am still on Shangqing sect's roster. I don't know if I count as a member of Xianyuan sect, but if possible, I'd like to enter the Hellfire Hall, he. Xianyuan sect was a major sect for ghost cultivators, and people like Wenren He and Yin Hanjiang were legendary figures, the kind of which took 3 lifetimes of fortune to meet once. Qiu Kongxiu had originally also been in this class, but he had come to know her for too long. With how well Suhui knew his martial elder's tendencies, he really couldn't respect her. I don't remember you. Yin Hanjiang stared at Suhui, unsure if his memory was faulty or if they really hadn't met before. I had the honor of meeting sect leader Yin at the Xiling Pavilion. I'm such an insignificant person that it makes sense for sect leader to not remember me, Suhui said, scratching his head. You're Bailey King Miao's disciple. Yin Hanjiang lifted a hand. He remembered that Bailey Qing Miao was the maiden that his Venerable One had favored. Even if he couldn't kill her, could he not kill her disciple? Not sensing the danger, Suhui replied honestly, yes. My master and I were victims of Shangqing sect's schemes and have much gratitude towards sect leader Wenren for saving us. Suhui is willing to join the Xianyuan sect and serve sect leader Yin for life. The Venerable One saved Bailey Qing Miao. At the sea of blood, Yin Hanjiang withdrew the hand that had almost reached Suhui's body. Yes. It was so dangerous. The righteous cultivators are all scum, and that he Wenzhao is a son of bitch. Suhui started cussing again. Since Zhongli Qian and his master weren't here, he took the opportunity to cuss the righteous cultivators out so hard that their ancestral tablets would be smoking. Yin Hanjiang had never even heard some of the words he used, but he understood them perfectly well. After listening for a bit, he clapped Su Huai on the shoulder. "Good cussing." He. Su Huai chuckled awkwardly. "Master and Sir Zhongli both don't like to hear me cuss. If sect leader likes it, I could sneak over and cuss for you to hear." "Sounds good," Yin Hanjiang said. "Where's Bailey Qingmiao?" "In Protector Chu's quarters. It's rich in spiritual energy, which Sir Zhongli said would help Master recover," Su Huai said a bit doubtfully. "After Master returned from the Sea of Blood, her mental state hasn't been right. Sir Zhongli said it wasn't just heartbreak but that something seems to be influencing her soul." Yin Hanjiang said nothing more to Su Huai, flying directly toward Bailey Qingmiao's room. No one in Xianyuan sect would dare to stop him, so Yin Hanjiang entered Qiu Kongxiu's room without any obstacles. Inside, he saw a beautiful maiden lying on a bed, her brows knitted, seeming to be trapped in some nightmare. He sat at Bailey Qingmiao's bedside, staring down at her. She really was very beautiful. Yin Hanjiang brought out the army-crushing spike, bumping Bailey Qingmiao's face a few times with its cold hilt. He aimed its point at Bailey Qingmiao's nose, wondering if he should gouge her face out. Where should he start? The nose? No, she wasn't a carving, he couldn't gouge her up. His Venerable One wanted him to protect Bailey Qingmiao. He had thrown over a blood-red stone along with her. What had that been? Where was it? On Bailey Qingmiao. Yin Hanjiang appeared calm, but the thoughts in his mind were running on repeat for thousands of times. His murderous intent fluctuated, and as if sensing it, Bailey Qingmiao finally opened her eyes. The moment she did, she saw the army-crushing spike right next to her face. Bailey Qingmiao took a deep breath and asked weakly, Sect leader Yin, what are trying to do?" Yin Hanjiang could act as crazy as he wanted in private, but in front of other people, he had to be a flawless sect leader in order to gain their confidence. "I'm here to see you." Yin Hanjiang spoke very slowly, each sentence requiring a lot of thought. As he spoke, the army-crushing spike still hovered above Bailey Qingmiao's face. She had originally thought that this wasn't a bad way to die, but the moment she saw Yin Hanjiang, all her hairs stood on end. Somehow, she found the strength to prop herself up on her arms and shift bit by bit to the other side of the bed, trying to get herself out of the spike's range. Seeing her move, Yin Hanjiang shifted his weapon so it still pointed at her nose. A deep chill ran through Bailey Qingmiao's body. She said in a trembling voice, "Sect leader Yin, I want to sit up. Can you please move your weapon?" "Oh." Yin Hanjiang looked at the army-crushing spike, as if he had just noticed it. He said in realization, "This is the bonded weapon my Venerable One forged for me, using the shattered mountain meteorite." Right. Bailey Qingmiao said frantically. "Elder Wenren He, Sect leader Yin, Master Qingxiu and myself worked together to get the shattered mountain meteorite. Then this is real." A slight smile appeared on Yin Hanjiang's face, and he moved his weapon away. Bailey Qingmiao sat up, gasping roughly for breath, feeling like she had just escaped a terrible fate. She watched as Yin Hanjiang waved the army-crushing spike in front of her eyes, like a child showing off a toy. "This is the near-immortal artifact that the Venerable One forged for me from the shattered mountain meteorite. It's a powerful bonded weapon that suits me perfectly." "Yeah." Senior Wenren He also retrieved the snow flame in order to drive out the yin energy within your body. "It's all my fault, that Senior Wenren He is now." She remembered now. At the Sea of Blood, she had seen He Wenzhao attack her without mercy. Instantly, her heart had frozen over. She had thought that since her Shikshan wanted to kill her, maybe it was best if she just die. That thought burrowed into her brain like a parasite, which she couldn't get rid of no matter what. At that moment, Bailey Qingmiao couldn't feel anything else besides the desire for death. "What's wrong with me?" she said, looking at her hands. "This isn't me. Even if I wanted to die, I wouldn't be so selfish. Zhongli and myself are connected by the heart-linking parasite. Before we can remove the parasite, how can I let Zhongli psyche be affected?" It was at this moment, while under Yin Hanjiang's murderous intent, Bailey Qingmiao seemed to wake up from her dream. As she recalled the events of the last year, a shudder ran through her. Have I gone crazy? Or have I been under control by something? Inner demons. No one else was around, so Bailey Qingmiao could only be asking Yin Hanjiang. "I don't know." Yin Hanjiang wiped the army-crushing spike's blades with Bailey Qingmiao's skirt. "All I know is that if a cultivator goes mad, it's because they themselves wanted to." The cold surface of the army-crushing spike reflected Yin Hanjiang's twisted expression. End chapter. Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 55, Seems I was late. Bailey Qingmiao didn't notice that Yin Hanjiang had cut several gashes into her robes. She thought back on her memories of the past year and felt like she had been under control of something. Aside from thinking that if her Shikshan wanted to kill her then she might as well die, there had been no other thoughts in her head. She had lost all her will to live with her heart hung on He Wenzhao. Occasionally another desire would surface within her, but it would be quickly crushed by the desire for death. "No," she said decisively. "A normal cultivator wouldn't wish for themselves to go mad. Only when something is already wrong with them and their rationality is already destabilized by inner demons so that only desire remains in their mind, can inner demons take advantage of their weakness." Yin Hanjiang moved his gaze very slowly from the army-crushing spike to Bailey Qingmiao. He laughed silently. "You're right. I'm the one who let it happen." "Huh? You?" Bailey Qingmiao blinked innocently. Yin Hanjiang stood up slowly. "I'm not sure which is true. Since I can't tell, I might as well not worry about it." Worry about what?" Bailey Qingmiao faintly felt that something was wrong. She wanted to escape, but the moment she tried to use her spiritual qi, she felt a sharp pain in her dantian and was powerless to do so. She could only slowly shrink to the other side of the bed and huddled in her blanket, looking pitifully weak and powerless. The smile on Yin Hanjiang's face hadn't vanished. "Now that I think about it, there's no need for me to figure out what's true and what's false. Because one thing doesn't change the fact that my Venerable One is already." He couldn't continue as he was unwilling to say it. "Elder Wenren was trying to save me. It's all my fault." Bailey Qingmiao began to sob, unable to stop her tears from flowing upon hearing his words. "In that case, there are only two things I need to do. The first is to take vengeance, and the second is to send something he might like down to accompany him." Yin Hanjiang's gaze landed on Bailey Qingmiao. "Once I send it to him, the Venerable One can decide whether or not he likes it. What do you think?" As he spoke, he gradually raised the army-crushing spike. The cold light reflecting off the steel hurt Bailey Qingmiao's eyes. "I don't think it's a good idea," said a voice from the doorway. Yin Hanjiang remained in his stance of holding the weapon in the air, turning his head to see Wenren he standing at the doorway with white hair and a blindfold, smiling slightly at him. He knew it was Zhongli Qian, but it wasn't him whom he was seeing. A head poked out from behind Zhongli Qian's back, revealing itself to be Su Huai. He glanced at Yin Hanjiang's face and said, "Sect leader Yin, your eyes are injured, so I ask Sir Zhongli to look at your eyes." "I see." Yin Hanjiang rubbed the now dried blood at the corners of his eyes. "It's no problem," he said lightly. "It will heal soon." "At least let me wipe the blood," Zhongli Qian said calmly. He took out a handkerchief and sat at the bedside, seeming to not notice that Bailey Qingmiao had woken up. With Su Huai's pointers, he gently wiped away the dried blood, applying medicine at the same time. When he was about to bandage them, Yin Hanjiang stopped him. If my eyes are covered, I won't be able to see him. Zhongli Qian didn't ask who was this he and just changed the subject. Xianyuan sect's historical records are long, so I still need a few more days to take my position at the main hall. Suhui is a clever child and he enjoys the atmosphere of Xianyuan sect, so I thought of having him help out there. I hope sect leader Yin will approve. Suhui belongs to Shang. Bailey Qingmiao barely opened her mouth when Zhongli Qian tossed a jade slip into her hand, interrupting her. Bailey Qingmiao is the disciple of Right Protector Qiu, so she counts as half a member of Xianyuan sect. Since her heart is linked to mine, after she recovers, she could also help me out there. What does sect leader Yin think? I don't agree, Yin Hanjiang said. I have use for her. Use? What use? In what way? Zhongli Qian's eyebrows rose. He couldn't actually see it, but it was obvious to him that Yin Hanjiang was in a bad state. He arrived in time to save Bailey Qingmiao only because, as Suhui brought Qiu Kongxiu to him, he happened to mention his encounter with Yin Hanjiang, as well as briefly going over their conversation and Yin Hanjiang's eye injury. Zhongli Qian sensed something was off upon hearing that. It was fortunate that flying on sword was allowed within Xianyuan sect and Yin Hanjiang seemed to have some hesitation, allowing Zhongli Qian to arrive quickly enough to prevent a disaster. In order to placate Yin Hanjiang, Zhongli Qian said, aside from the work at the main hall, there's something else I wanted to report to sect leader. You've said before that you were keeping me at Xianyuan sect to prevent you from throwing the cultivation world into chaos and disrupting Lord Wenrenhe's plans. Is that right? Yes. As they spoke, Yin Hanjiang's gaze never moved from Bailey Qingmiao and he didn't put down the army-crushing spike. Yin Hanjiang was powerful enough that, if he wanted to kill Bailey Qingmiao, no one would be able to stop him. His words and actions contradicted each other, showing that there was still conflict within him. Zhongli Qian couldn't force him. After some thought, he said, does sect leader remember how Lord Wenren had always wanted to solve the mysteries surrounding Bailey Qingmiao? Not too clearly. Ignoring Yin Hanjiang's questionable state, Zhongli Qian continued. I've traveled with Bailey Qingmiao for 30 years and noticed two odd things about her. The first is that she seems to draw all kinds of heavenly treasures and spiritual lands to her, and be able to escape any kind of danger she finds herself in. The second is that, Lord Wenren and myself exerted much effort to free Bailey Qingmiao of her infatuation. Her condition would improve whenever she left the Shanking sect, but she would regress whenever she met with a heavenly tribulation. It was only because I had a heart-linking parasite and could sense her emotions that she managed to stay away from her sect for 30 years. What about those? Yin Hanjiang reached out and grabbed Bailey Qingmiao's leg, about to drag her over. At the Sea of Blood, both changed. Hearing Sea of Blood, Yin Hanjiang finally reacted. He let go of Bailey Qingmiao and focused on Zhongli Qian. Now that I think about it, this was something I overlooked. When He Wenzhou brought Bailey Qingmiao to the Sea of Blood, I was long aware of it and had made a plan with Lord Wenren beforehand. I approved of that plan because I knew of Bailey Qingmiao's special characteristics, and believed that she wouldn't be hurt in the Sea of Blood, and might actually obtain an opportunity. I never imagined that she would be injured to such a degree and lose her bonded weapon. Zhongli Qian sighed, his face filled with regret. I also never imagined that after returning from the Sea of Blood, Bailey Qingmiao would want to die with a single-minded obsession as if she was possessed, to the point that I couldn't even restrain her. This doesn't make sense. Yin Hanjiang listened intently. Bailey Qingmiao also spoke up. I also feel that something isn't right. Previously, my mind was hazy, as if it wasn't me acting at all. I believe that something in the Sea of Blood must have affected Bailey Qingmiao, Zhongli Qian said. Lord Wenren probably entered it despite the risk not only to resolve his blood cultivation but also to investigate something. When I touched your leg just now, your skin was burning, Yin Hanjiang suddenly said. Do you have a fever? That would be my fault, Zhongli Qian said. I asked Hall Master Shi to give some of his sickness qi to Bailey Qingmiao so that she would be unconscious from fever and unable to seek death. Bailey Qingmiao. She knew Zhongli Qian had good intentions, but it felt so awkward. When Hall Master Shi was mentioned, Yin Hanjiang remembered something perfectly clearly. His muddled memories were all concerning Wenren He. Hearing that Hall Master Shi had transferred sickness to her, Yin Hanjiang shook his head. That doesn't make sense. There's no way Hall Master Shi's sickness qi could affect her. Why? Zhongli Qian had no knowledge of this. Acting without warning, Yin Hanjiang extended a finger and tapped Bailey Qingmiao's blindfold. Zhongli Qian slipped a bamboo scroll out of his sleeve in alarm. If Yin Hanjiang jabbed his finger in, Bailey Qingmiao would really lose that eye. Fortunately, Yin Hanjiang's finger stopped at her blindfold. Shi Kengzin was unable to put a curse on Bailey Qingmiao and barely managed to put a curse in this one eye. How could he transfer sickness qi to her and leave her bedridden for over a year at that? Zhongli Qian wasn't clear on what he was referring to, and after hearing Yin Hanjiang's explanation, he told Su Huai, "Go find Hall Master Shi." No need. Yin Hanjiang scribbled out a message talisman, with the message, "Get your ass over." Zhongli Qian. The Yin Hanjiang he was looking at seemed to be a completely different person from the Yin Hanjiang he had first met. Hall Master Shi rushed over upon receiving the message. After fearfully hearing Zhongli Qian explain everything, he said, "Truthfully, when Hall Master Zhongli told me his request, I was in quite an awkward position. During that night, I never approached her and sat in a corner the whole time." He pointed at the corner of the room that was the furthest from Bailey Qingmiao. "If you didn't transfer sickness qi to her, how come she developed fever the next day?" said Zhongli Qian. Hall Master Shi trembled harder. "She took it herself. She had been knocked out by Protector Qiu that evening and suddenly woke up in the middle of the night. She walked over to me and sucked away my sickness qi." "What?" Bailey Qingmiao said in disbelief. "I don't remember that at all. I don't understand it either." Hall Master Shi said as he pulled his cloak tighter. "Haven't you noticed that I haven't coughed much lately? You took most of my sickness qi and made me lose a lot of power. I can't have anyone notice, so when Hall Master Miao and Hall Master Ruan roped me into their fights, I didn't dare do anything." Everyone was puzzled by Hall Master Shi's words, but unbeknownst to them, as they were talking, great changes occurred at the Sea of Blood. Being the place where the primordial gods had sealed 180,000 demonic gods, the atmosphere above the Sea of Blood was influenced by demonic energy and was always overcast. The gray sky wasn't covered with clouds but with a corrosive mixture of primordial chaos and demonic energy which blocked the sun and rain, which ensured that the weather in 100 li around the Sea of Blood hadn't changed in millions of years. But now, the clouds of a heavenly tribulation attempted to form in the sky above the Sea of Blood. It tried several times to gather, but each time it was devoured by the chaos energy. Eventually, it powerlessly released 9 tiny sparks before vanishing. The moment it vanished, a whirlpool appeared on the ocean surface. A man holding a black halberd flew out. Ignoring the restriction on flying above the Sea of Blood, he landed on the top of the cliffs in one move. That man closed his eyes, as if taking in the experiences and memories of the past days. After 24 hours, he slowly opened his eyes. He wore only a white inner robe, covered with holes made by magical weapons. With a wave of his hand, a grey robe draped itself over his body. Along with the robe appeared 3 books and a blood-red stone. He first opened the God of Destruction, Volume 1.